Okay, my name is Marcus Stewart, Senior Director of Network Infrastructure at Achievement First, which is a charter management organization of high-performing charter schools located in the Northeast. And what I'm going to talk about today is what I call our 10-week Tech Dash, where we get our schools ready over the course of the summer for the upcoming school year. So there's a lot that we put into a short amount of time to make sure that our schools are ready on the first day of school. So for us, summer's prime time. That's when we are able to go into a school, go into a new location, and get a lot of technology, infrastructure, and all that kind of stuff put in place. So we have from mid-June to August 15th to get a lot of things done and a lot of moving parts in place for our schools. It's a crazy amount of time that we do on an annual basis. So this is pain that we know is coming every year. We have schools in 3 regions: New York, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So not only are we doing this over the course of 10 weeks, we're doing it in 3 regions at the same time. And we have 35 plus schools. So we're working with 35 different directors who have different personalities, different wants, different criteria, and they are moving parts as well. So to make all this magic happen, we have to work with both internal and external folks. So we work with our legal team to get us actual access to the buildings. We, especially in New York, we acquire buildings from the DOE, so they work to actually get us those buildings. Our facility team gets us access into those buildings so that we can actually look and see like what magic and wiring can we make happen in these spaces. And then we have our operations teams who are responsible for on-the-ground communication with local community and the folks within the existing schools just to smooth the tension. We also work with our external folks, which in our case are mainly our educational partners. So we work with our educational departments primarily around getting permits and access and all that kind of stuff. In New York, we have this process called charter matching that is a bureaucratic nightmare. So we actually have to start working like 4 months before the summer to make sure that we have the paperwork. So we usually just know the address of a school and that's it. And then we have to think about what that school is going to look like. So my team, the network infrastructure team, is made up of 2 people, myself and my director, Donald. So we are responsible for looking at the floor plans, designing it, kind of figuring out where things are going to go in the space. We also work with our networking vendors to make sure that we have the proper equipment. We're a Cisco shop, so we get Cisco equipment, and just kind of figuring out like what does the actual time schedule look like. So with 2 folks, you actually need a lot of people, a lot of hands on the ground to get the actual work done. So that's where our IT support team comes into place. So these are the folks who actually go into the buildings and install the network equipment with us, but they also take care of the student technology, printers, Chromebooks, all that kind of stuff. So these are literally our hands to make all the magic happen. And each of these guys typically has like 3 to 4 schools that they are responsible for. So a typical AF summer consists of a lot of different parts. We typically open 1 to 3 new schools every year. We then expand 3 to 7 existing schools. An expansion can be they get a couple of rooms or they get an entirely new floor. So we have to work, and that's part of the magic that we design and all that kind of stuff. We also onboard between 250 and 300 people every summer, and we also do general maintenance. So the tools that we use to make all this magic happen is Smartsheet. Smartsheet is our calendaring and communication hub for our directors and our IT team. For our directors, this is where they're able to see what IT things are still left to be done at their particular school. For our IT associates, it's a way for them to understand and know, like, this is what I need to do for my particular school to have them ready by day 1. The other tool that we use, we are primarily a Windows shop, so we use PowerShell. We are not PowerShell gurus, but we've created a couple of scripts here and there to deal specifically with user creation, OU creation, to make the kind of annual things that we do a little bit more automated and scripted and all that kind of stuff. So we've developed this over the course of the 10 years and tried to, do what we can to get PowerShell to make some magic happen to make our lives easier. The other tool that we use is something that's familiar to a lot of people here, which is Okta. We are fairly new to Okta. We've been using it for about 3 years, but it has made our identity provisioning process with our SaaS products infinitely more manageable. Knowing that I create somebody in Active Directory and the magic just happens and they're created in all these other systems just makes a little portion of that 10 weeks a little bit more bearable. And the last thing that we use is since we are a school district, we have a ton of Chromebooks. So we use this device up here called an Arduino board, which is basically just a Raspberry Pi, to automate a lot of the onboarding that is required to get a Chromebook signed up into G Suite. So if this piece of device would take a process that would take us manually about maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do in person, that it takes 2 minutes to get it set up, and then it just does the rest of it. So we can do things a lot faster. So I break up our summer into 4 different phases. The first phase, which is usually mid-June to early July, is related to general maintenance. This is where we offboard staff that are no longer there. So if we're onboarding 350 people, we're usually offboarding about 200-something people at that time. So we're getting computers and cleaning up. We're dealing with Chromebook cards, general maintenance, computer stuff like that, just getting things ready. This is technically our slow period for the entire summer. The second phase, which usually takes place between early July to the end of July, is wiring. And that is the most critical piece of getting a school ready. So we work with our wiring vendor very closely because we only got 10 weeks, and we technically only have 4 weeks to get all of our wiring done because staff is coming in and all that kind of stuff. So we work with them very closely to just make sure that they have the access they need, and when things change, we're communicating with them very quickly. We also have between 12,000 and 14,000 Chromebooks that we are managing during the same period. So we are taking care of them. We're onboarding new Chromebooks. We're repairing and sending out for repair existing Chromebooks. So while Chromebooks are great, when you have to manage them at this scale, you hate them very much. You hate them for their simplicity because you got to send them out to repair. It's very hard to repair it yourself. So then our third phase deals with once the wiring is completed. This usually happens the end of July to the beginning of August, is when we actually install the network equipment. This is when people who are at our new schools love us, because that's when they get internet. That's when they get wireless at their location. And if we have any difficulty with the wiring, we put at least a skeleton crew up so that they can get the work done, so they can communicate with parents, onboard students, all that kind of stuff. Also during this third phase is when we do onboarding for all of our new staff members. So like I said, we are bringing between 250 to 300 people on during this stage. So we're getting their computers ready, we're creating accounts for them, and we're doing this across 3 regions on the same day. So we've got to make sure that they have all the things that they need to be ready to start preparing for the actual school year. We have to do that while doing all the other magic that we make happen. The fourth phase happens this is the home stretch. This happens from early August to August 15th. And this is what I call the polish. This is when we do things like, for a new school, install their phone system, or get their printers and network equipment and network printers, projectors, all that kind of stuff set up, the things that they physically see as being IT. That's when we do it, so we have a very short period of time to do that towards the end of the summer. And when you deal with 10 weeks to get all this stuff done, you're going to have challenges. We go into every summer knowing that there's something going to happen that we can't predict. So we've dealt with lost equipment, we've dealt with delayed equipment, we've dealt with facilities challenges where, we can't get in there when they say we can, and we've dealt with third-party vendors quitting on us mid-summer. With all those challenges, we have never missed a first day of school. And the reason that we have never missed it is for these kids right here. We want to make sure when the first day of school happens for them, technology is not an impediment to their educational goals. So I know that was a very, very quick overview. So that's my email and Twitter handle. So if you want to connect with me afterwards, please do so. Thank you.